getting new clients, but I firmly believe that it wasn't about the money.
Mm,
It wasn't about the money. If it was about the money, then I wouldn't have kept going
yeah.
at that point in time. Like it would have been clearly obvious. And I was great.
Welcome back to Young Smart Money with me, your host, Apple Kreider, the show where we bring on young, successful 6, 7, and 8-figure online entrepreneurs. Today, we have somebody on the show who I have looked up to for a very long time. I've been consuming this guy's content for probably close to 2 years now. So it was really cool to sit down and talk with Jeff Rose about his journey through blogging and how he has been able to create and sell over $1 million blog. Really, really good stuff. If you're looking to do any kind of content marketing, whether it's blogging, YouTube, podcast, this is going to be a very valuable episode for you. And if you know Jeff Rose, you know that he brings the value. This guy cuts right to the chase. He's got a lot of very valuable insights that he's going to share with you in this interview when it comes to creating a content marketing business, scaling that, and actually distancing yourself from the business so that you don't have to be involved in the day-to-day operations. Jeff is somebody who is pretty hands-off in his business for it being as large as it is, and he's been able to grow it to a very substantial place. So if that's something you're interested in really growing an online business, a sustainable and scalable online business, this is the episode for you. So whether you're out there walking the dog, you're at the gym, you are driving to work, wherever you are listening to this show from right now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview with Jeff Rose. Jeff, welcome to Young Smart Money. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm not sure why I'm on this though, because I know you're young. I don't know if I still count as young. Maybe young at heart, but thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So Jeff, I know our listeners heard a little bit about you in our intro, but for those of them that aren't as familiar with you and what you do, could you give us a quick 60 seconds as to what Jeff Rose is up to right now? And then we're going to dive deeper into your story and how you got there.
Yeah, it's so fun to answer that question right now, because what Jeff Rose is into right now is YouTube and creating online courses and working as least as I possibly can and just hanging out with my kids and my family. And that's it. And that's what I do right now. That's what I'm excited about.
I love it. So I'm excited to dive into that. So Jeff, I always like to start off with where our guests were at a young age. So I like to start with school in particular. So flashing back to school, maybe middle school, high school, were you at all entrepreneurial? Were you somebody who took school very seriously? What was that looking like for you at that age?
No, and no. I was a scrawny little boy that had no idea what he wanted to do with his life. My dad always offered me money to mow the lawn. I would just say, no, I'm good. I didn't have any chores, didn't really have any responsibilities as a kid. The only thing I did like was baseball cards. I don't think I ever made any money from the baseball cards. I definitely spent a lot of money on baseball cards, and that was all from an allowance that my mom would give me. No, I had no entrepreneurial vision, and really just because of my upbringing. Like my parents really weren't entrepreneurs, and they really weren't good with managing money at all. So I didn't have a lot of that exposure as a kid. So no, I was just a kid that liked to play video games, and that's about it.
That's very interesting. So did you decide to go to college? Was that something that was really like the norm in your family, or what did that experience look like for you?
Yeah, so my dad actually was the only out of my parents and grandparents, the only one to graduate from college.
Wow.
But the catch was he didn't graduate from college until he was 55 years old. So he was actually a college dropout, and something that he always wanted for me was not to do that. Was to go to college. So I graduated high school, was going to go to college, and then I did what he didn't want me to do. I dropped out. I didn't go to college for a semester and really got into a bad place of just really got into some drugs and just working a dead-end job and just really hating life, and really was at the point where I had to do something different. The one thing that my dad did do when he after he dropped out of high school, or dropped out of college, was he joined the Army. And I was just at a place where I just was going nowhere. So I ended up joining the Army National Guard. I was actually living in California at the time, and joined the Army National Guard. And that was definitely like the kick in the butt that I needed just to get my life on track. So after that, graduated college and then started a career as a financial advisor, which I did not mention at all in that 60-second intro. Had me answer earlier. But yeah, so like that was my college journey, was initially dropping out, had to join the military to get my butt back in gear.
How long were you in the military for?
I was in the Army National Guard for 9 years. Typically, you only have to do 6 if you want to get your college for free. But then I re-upped for another 3, and then in that 3-year re-enlistment, I was deployed to Iraq for 17 months back in 2005, which is forever ago. But yeah, so for those that don't know, Army National Guard is, you're the weekend warrior. Like you do one weekend drill a month, you do 2 weeks in the summer, and like that's just kind of the joke. Well, yeah, you can also get deployed, which I did. So I was gone, as I mentioned, for 17 months.
Jeez.
So that was definitely, it's one of those experiences that I wouldn't want to do it again. And I know I have several buddies that have deployed more than once, and God bless them. But one was good. I wouldn't trade that experience for the world, but definitely wouldn't do it again. But I am grateful for what it did. And just for me, just through, just to be able to exist and just perseverance through some pretty tough times. So anyway, grateful for that
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. So talk to me about becoming a financial advisor, because I really, that's actually the track that I'm on right now to graduate and become a CFP. So talk to me about that transition for you and why you decided to go down that route. Was that when you got to college? Was that what you thought you were going to study, or where did you get to there?
Yeah. So, did my undergrad and still like I knew it was business related, and it really wasn't until like my junior year when I had to kind of more specialize and ended up going to my dad, who, as I mentioned, wasn't great with finances, but I still felt the need to ask him what he thought I should major in. And I was thinking accounting. And one of the best things that my dad ever told me was, have you ever met an accountant with a good personality? And I really didn't quite get it, but I was like, I don't think so. And he's like, yeah, I haven't. So I would suggest finance. So I did finance. I didn't really know what that meant until, actually, I don't know if I still know what that means other than just like crunching numbers. But to answer your question, as far as like being a financial advisor, it really wasn't until between my junior and senior year of college when I'm looking at my resume and I'm like, okay, I've got the military and that's it. Like I got nothing else really on my resume. So I was able to get an internship at a local investment firm in our college town, and that was kind of what gave me the introduction to being a financial advisor, even though during that internship, I had no idea what that even meant. But still, I got my foot in the door and got a chance to talk with other brokers. And that's what ended up getting me a job right after I graduated.
Awesome. Awesome. So you're at this position. You're now you're working in the financial advising industry. Talk to me about starting your blog, because I know early on you were somebody who was blogging before blogging was cool and before people knew that you could actually make money blogging. So talk to me about that transition and how you got exposed to the world of blogging.
Yeah. And so, which if you don't, you'll quickly find this out if you're going down that path. So I was like your traditional financial advisor, stockbroker at a Series 7 license,
Okay.
which can be very restrictive in how you market yourself online.
Hmm.
But the company that I started with ended up being bought out by a bigger investment firm, which is now Wells Fargo. And that gave me the opportunity actually to leave
Hmm.
that company I started with. And I went what they call independent. And then when I went independent, so I could kind of market myself just a little bit differently.
Okay.
And that's when I started reading some trade magazines. And I just remember reading an article talking about, if you really want to stand out from every other advisor that exists out there, like you need to start a blog. And I remember I read that article. I'm like, yes, like that's what I'm going to do. Like I was pumped. I was excited. I was jazzed. And then I quickly realized, like, I don't know what a blog is. So then I just started doing some research and talked to a few other advisors. I mean, because at that time there literally was like a handful of those that were blogging in the country.
Yeah.
And I just reached out to them and they shared some pretty cool stories, really cool success stories of landing some really good clients just because they were publishing a blog like once every few weeks. And it just got me really excited to learn it. And I just, man, like when I get really excited about something, like I want to know anything and everything about it. So that like, if you stop me in the street and were asking me, hey, what can you tell me about blogging? I'm going to tell you everything that you want to know and everything that you don't want to know. I'm that guy. But I just became obsessed with it. And because when I truly understood the reach and the potential that I could have, just by publishing a blog post, I just got really excited about it. So I started the blog, and that just led down this fun journey and at that time, like, obviously if I don't know what blogging is, I don't know that you can make money from blogging.
Yeah.
And just by meeting some other bloggers online and then starting to understand like, oh, wow, you can actually make money on the side, with this. So then I just started monetizing it, and that's when it grew into what it is today.
Awesome. So like your primary purpose starting off was to get more clients into your financial services business?
Yeah, it was marketing, and there I will say this, I there was this pride thing, just this enjoyment of, because starting my career as a financial advisor, I just ran into so many older couples that hadn't invested nearly enough. They had all these regrets, of not starting sooner. They didn't understand compounding interest, and I had a bunch of friends that were the younger version of them, and then me seeing like my dad and my mom and seeing where they were at with their finances. And all of a sudden it just kind of hit me all at once. Like, I don't want to be these people,
Mm,
and I can make small changes today that'll have a huge impact on my life later on. And once I finally understood that, it almost became like this personal mission of mine to just get as many people as I could to start investing and just start taking charge of their finances. So it was to get new clients, but also like underneath that though, like was this just mission, this personal mission, just to educate as many people as I could, just to start investing for themselves.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's got to be one of the bigger drivers is like you want to be able to help people and being able to see that transformation and help people avoid that fate that you saw so many people around you having where they're at this place where they're 50, they're 60 and they just don't have the funds that they need to retire comfortably. That's gotta be a huge, huge driver.
Yeah, and like that's why it's funny because people still ask me like, how do you still talk about that stuff today? And for those that don't know, I mean, there's this guy named Dave Ramsey who's New York Times bestseller, has a very popular radio show actually located here in the Nashville area, and I mean he's been saying the same thing for like 2 or 3 decades.
Oh yeah.
But the reason is because people still need to hear it for
Yeah.
one, and two, like that's he's still motivated to help people, and he recognizes that people are still in debt, people still aren't investing, and that's like the same reason why I can still say the same thing I do, even though like I try to change it up every once in a while and come up with like a new idea or a new concept to kind of introduce, but basically saying the same thing but just in a different way. But yeah, that's what keeps me going and why I can still say what I say.
Exactly. So when you were getting into the blogging space, you said you found some other bloggers that were doing some cool stuff and that really helped you out. Did you have anyone that was sort of like a mentor figure to you in this space and that sort of took you under their wing and showed you what was up? Or was it really just mostly you on your own doing all this research, learning it inside and out? What was that looking like?
Yeah, I won't say call it luck, but so before Facebook groups, there
Mhm.
were forums, which I guess there's still forums today, but there was this personal finance blogger forum that existed, and somehow someone turned me on to it, and I went in there, and this guy ended up just befriending me. And what kind of brought us together was he was in the Air Force and he was deployed the same year that I was. And I think I had linked to one of his blog posts, and for those that don't know, like if you link to somebody, I don't think you still do this, but you'll get like a track back, a notification basically like, oh, that blog or that site linked to me. So that kind of put me on his radar, and he just ended up emailing me and connecting, and we kind of went back and forth. And one day we finally just picked up, or he actually picked up the phone and called me, and we ended up talking. And it was like the first time I actually talked to somebody I met online, like in real life. And it was a little surreal. And I don't know if it was like the first call, but maybe the second call, we ended up just talking about like, his blogs. He had 2 blogs at the time, and he shared like how much he was making from his sites in addition to working his full-time gig. And I'll never forget that day because I was driving somewhere. I think it was a client meeting, and this is before you could drive and not have to worry about hands-free driving. So just want to put that disclaimer out
Yeah.
there. But he ended up sharing with me like how much he was making from his sites, and he shared he was making $40,000. And I just remember like almost driving off the road because it shocked me. But here's the thing though, like he wasn't making $40,000 a year from his sites. He was making $40,000 a month, from his sites. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I need to learn more about this. Like I need to understand like how this works. So that's where really began the journey of just understanding all the different things I could do. But that was a time that I still had a Series 7 license. I was still restricted on some of the things I could do, but I was able to implement Google AdSense on the blog, something, and just that little thing, ended up producing. It was almost like $5,000 one month, just from Google AdSense, and I was like, all right, okay, there's something here. And I just thought, man, if I can do this with all this restrictions I have, being stuck in this box of compliance, what happens when I'm outside the box? So that's when I started putting wheels in motion to drop my Series 7 license, end up forming my own registered investment advisory firm, which sounds really technical. And it kind of is, but basically I went through all this trouble and hassle just so I could blog the way that I wanted to.
Really?
Just because I knew, I just firmly believed and had 100% faith like that this would turn into something bigger than I could even imagine. And fast forward, years, that was, oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. It was like 10 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
It has.
So, as you were establishing this blog, talk to me about some of the ways that you were able to prioritize your time, because you had this financial services business, you had this blog you were working on the side. How were you able to balance your time or to decide what got priority when?
Yeah, that's a great question. Going back in time here. So a few things, that I had to my advantage. When I went from being with this bigger firm to going independent, what that also gave me was ended up being more take-home income, because I wasn't giving up a huge percentage to the bigger firms. Like that's one of the reasons why most advisors will go independent. You become your own business now. So yes, you got to pay for all your overhead and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you end up keeping more, like if you do it right. And we end up there was like 5 or 6 of us that came together on this, to start this independent firm. We didn't share clients. We just shared expenses. So when I'm splitting office space and electricity and internet, like with 5 other dudes, I mean, my overhead was nothing. At the time I was living in Southern Illinois. So like cost of living was nothing. So in that first year of going independent, man, I don't remember income wise, but like when I left, I was making about 80 grand a year. And then with like a year and a half, I was making like 150K a year, I think, if I recall. And that's and I didn't really change much. I didn't really grow much, but it was just the fact I was keeping more. And I just had, and actually I think, so the timing of this, so the firm actually bought us out was Wachovia.
Okay.
Which they don't exist anymore. And like Wells Fargo had to bail them out essentially. So what ended up happening was I left before all that happened. So it was just talk about good timing. So a lot of people were trying to get away from Wachovia. And here we are, the new independent, we're not tied to any big bank. So I was able to get a lot of new clients that way without really doing anything different, because the blog really hadn't taken traction yet. So basically, I was making good money. My wife was able to quit her job, shortly thereafter. And I just got to a point where I had to make a decision, do I want to grow the financial planning practice, or do I want to grow the blog? And the way I had things set up with the financial planning practice, it was growing on its own. Once you get to a certain point, I mean, I've been in the business for almost 6-7 years then. So I was getting referrals, from existing clients, without really doing much. And then the blog started sending referrals. So it was, if I wish I could track my time back then, but I would probably guess that I was working 25 hours a week on the financial planning practice, but then also working 25, 30 hours a week on the blog. And let's go ahead and define working. A lot of that was just researching and just understanding SEO and writing blog posts, because I used to write my blog posts on my own before I understood the concepts of delegating and outsourcing, all that stuff. So, I just invested a lot of time in the beginning, and then just got better at delegating and outsourcing, and joined a few coaching programs that kind of taught me how to do that. And that's, I didn't do a really good job at the beginning. So I spent invested a lot of time learning what I did.
That's fair. Was there ever a tipping point for you with the blog, or was it a very gradual process over time that as you just learned more, diverted more energy, time, attention, resources into it, it was just growing over time? Or was there one point in time where you're okay, this is a real thing. This is bringing real money now?
Gosh, I thought I hit a tipping point. So I mentioned that I made, it was either $5,000 or just under $5,000, from Google AdSense. And I was man, I'm on top of the world. I'm this is supposed to be a side thing, and now it's going to, maybe potentially make $60,000 or more this year. And then it was just, I think 2.5 months after that, Google has these algorithm updates. They've kind of changed the name. So I think back then, the very first one they ever had, the big one was called the Google Panda update. So what that meant for me was I had a site that was getting over 100,000 unique visitors per month. And within a flip of a switch, and I think it was April 11th, if I recall the date, that I saw 75% of my traffic gone.
Wow.
Gone. And at that, I mean, so I quickly learned, when that happens, with Google, like they don't have like a customer support line. They don't have like a complaint desk. They don't have a toll-free number that you can call. Like I had no idea. Like I had a decent sense of maybe what had happened, just basically putting too many ads on the blog, but like I really had no idea. Like they didn't send me an email say, hey, if you're a violation of this, this, and this, like make these changes and everything's good. So I went from making several $1,000s a month to making like a couple $100, and that sucked. It took 9 months just to get the traffic back where I was before that happened. But even at that point, I was only making a couple $1,000s a month. And I just had to ask myself, like, why did I start this thing? Yes, it was marketing and growing the practice, like that was initially, but then I remember just the deeper mission behind it, just to inspire and encourage people to start investing. So that's when I just kind of like put my big boy pants back on and soaked up my tears and just started blogging more. And then I actually started the YouTube channel way back then. And it took, several years. And the tipping point again for me, well, I guess I didn't really have a tipping point. I thought I did. The tipping point finally hit when I was able to find a strategic partner that could fill in all the gaps of all the things that I didn't know how to do or the things I didn't want to do. That was a little while though. It took me a few trial and error, of hiring different contractors to kind of help out on the affiliate revenue side, because that was the side like I didn't like. And what I mean by that is like, yeah, I like making money obviously, but just managing different affiliates and all the different changes that happens. And when one affiliate drops and it gets replaced by another, like this is all like the logistics stuff and more like admin stuff that I just absolutely hate. So through trial and error, find a few people and test them out. It worked out for a little while, then it didn't work. And then finally just got hooked up with a really good partner that we've been together now for 5 years. And it's been really good.
Wow. How'd you find that partner? How'd you guys connect?
Online relationships. He was actually referred to me by another guy that I had not met in person yet. We just had worked together online. And funny enough, he was referred to me because the guy, our mutual acquaintance, said, hey, you need to, because my partner was stressed out, working too much, had, I think, 2 kids or 3 kids at the time. And he's like, man, I'm burnt out. Like, and he said, man, you need to talk to Jeff Rose because, he's got 3 kids. We got 4 now. And all I know is like, he just takes a bunch of time off and he's making a lot of money. Like you need to talk to him. So that was why he was originally referred to me. And turns out that my partner, he had a background in SEO, also had a background in insurance, specifically life insurance, which was a topic, a niche that I was just starting to add to the site. So, and just ended up being one of those match made in heaven. But really going back to it, it all went down to strategic networking and just doing the right thing. I just kind of worked with this other guy for a while, and just, like I said, we never met in person, but just always did the right thing with him and built a good relationship with him. And he felt comfortable enough to refer this other guy to me and ended up being a business partner that has made us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm grateful for it.
Those online friends. You do some amazing things with online friends.
Yeah.
So throughout this process, it sounds like you were starting to incorporate other income streams like affiliate marketing, like YouTube. What made you want to diversify away from Google AdWords? Was it like that one moment in time where you just lost like 75% of your Google traffic, or what made you start to think about diversifying those revenue streams?
Yeah. I mean, I just, at that point in time, like I had built up an even bigger network of other personal finance bloggers. So like I knew that a majority of their income was through affiliates, and just having good affiliates, as part of the income stream. So just putting the focus on that and adding that, and then obviously trying to diversify the different types of affiliates that you get. Because at one point in time, man, we had one affiliate. We had one affiliate. It was I'll go ahead and say, because they don't exist anymore. It was Scottrade, and they're like a brokerage firm. And they end up selling to somebody else, and that affiliate was making us between $10,000 or $15,000 a month. and then they sell. And now you just lost out on $10,000 to $15,000 a month, and that sucks. So, just recognizing that we had another affiliate, which is thankfully still one of ours. I mean, it was about $50,000 a month. And it represented, I think, about half of what we were making. So it's like crap, it's like, man, if they were to cancel their affiliate program or lower their payouts or they get bought out, like we just lost 50% of our income. So it was one of those that we were always very diligent on, just trying to figure out other ways that we could add different affiliates and also add additional content that would allow us to add other affiliates as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you have, like all your eggs in one basket or half your eggs with one affiliate, that has a lot of potential to have some serious consequences.
Yeah. It's no different. Like if you're a freelancer or a contractor and you've got one client that's paying, 70% of your light bill, like, yeah, it's great to have and you want to service them, but you might want to add a few more of those just in case.
Absolutely. So you've been blogging for a really long time and you've been doing this online business thing for a really long time. Were there ever times where you had doubts or you felt like you weren't the person to be doing this or you just weren't sure what to do next or if you were even on the right path? If so, like what did you do then?
Man, the biggest, as I previously mentioned, it was that Panda update. I mean, and just to kind of give more context to that, I had been blogging for over 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years.
Wow.
So imagine, like, I'm publishing on average 3 times per week. I've been investing 30 hours a week trying to understand it, networking with other bloggers, writing content, doing social media, like all these things, 2.5 years. And all of a sudden, like you lose 70% of it. And it's like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing? Like, I just wasted 2.5 years of my life to now I'm making like $200 a month. Wow. I go back in time. I'm like, why did I keep going? Like, why did I keep going? Like, I'm just thinking if I was talking to my younger self and he's telling me the story, I'm like, you got to do something else, buddy. Like, you need to move on. Like, this is what's called a pivot, and do something else. But yeah, like it was just, man, a lot of self-doubt and a lot of guilt and shame and just so many different things. And and that's when, for me, once again, like I just had to remind myself, like I didn't start this. I mean, yes, it's about getting new clients, but I firmly believe that it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. If it was about the money, then I wouldn't have kept going.
Yeah.
At that point in time, like it would have been clearly obvious. And I was grateful I didn't need that money. So like, it wasn't about that. Like it was about a deeper mission that I had. So yeah, but man, I had so many, I took about 2 weeks off, I think, if I recall, just trying to collect my thoughts and just kind of feeling sorry for myself. And, just kind of asking myself, man, why did you do this? Like, what was the motivation? What kept you going? So when I was able to answer those questions, to kind of answer like the deeper why behind it, that's when I just picked it back up and just kept going. And just and I didn't want to do the exact same thing. So I thought, well, we're talking about diversity. How could I diversify not just the income, but how could I diversify like the traffic that I was getting? Mm-hmm. So at the time, we kind of mentioned this a little bit, but there was only, even at that point still, there was only, I'd say, less than 10 certified financial planners that were blogging. I would go less than 5. Wow. that you could do a quick Google search and find. So I was still in the minority there. So then I went a little bit deeper and like, well, how many certified financial planners are there on YouTube, like doing consistent video content? And there was like maybe 1 or like 0. So I thought, okay, I did that. That kind of worked until Google came and slapped me around. How can I do something that's a little bit different? So that's why I really went into YouTube for a little while. And I've taken a few breaks over the years until I finally got back into about a year and a half ago.
Mm. And now you're sort of starting to pivot into this Wealth Hacker Labs brand. Can you talk a little bit about that transition?
Yeah. So it's been, my main blog is Good Financial Sense, which even to this day, it's like the most generic name.
Yeah.
But the one, and I've always hated, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, like financialsense.com was the domain I wanted. It was taken. So I had a good on front of it. And so many people have said like, oh, I really like that name. I'm like, really? I've never really liked it. But the one thing I say that has worked really well is that it is such a a good generic name that it is an asset that if I want to sell, like it's not like I'm trying to sell jeffrose.com. Same thing like with Wealth Hacker and Wealth Hacker Labs. So I was transitioning. So did I ever say this? So I'm no longer a active financial advisor. I sold that business earlier this year. It's something that became clear to me that I was ready to move on to the next chapter. I just wasn't sure when that time was. So this has been a few year process in the making. About a year and a half ago, my family and I, we moved to the Nashville, Tennessee area. And that was kind of like, that was the big step to get away proximity wise from the financial planning practice, just to like, all right, let's see what happens if I focus purely on the online side of things. And at the time, the online business was already making more. It was either making more or making just as much as the financial planning practice. So, I mean, it got to the point where what used to be my main thing was now the distraction. So it was actually taking time away from the things that were could make more money than I was currently making. So, and I'm totally rambling. I forgot what your question was.
There's the transition into the new brand. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thought was, man, do I keep growing the Good Financial Sense brand? But like going back, it felt generic. And then thinking about what that mission was, it was, yes, to inspire people, but it was also a marketing tool to the financial planning practice. And I get so many people that contact me through that site because they know me as a financial planner. So I'm like, okay, that was the previous life, right? Like what's the next life? And so the next chapter was this whole Wealth Hacker brand that I just been sitting on for, I'll be honest, like several years before I finally unleashed it. So that whole idea was, right now I am, like I said, I don't know why you got me on the show, because you said youngin show. I am now in my 40s. I'm a young 40 though. I can still ball with my boys and like I play sports. I'm active. I'm actually doing boxing today at noon. So what's up? Stay active. That's also the military me. But so I kind of went back and looked at my life. And so Rich Dad Poor Dad was a book that inspired me. Like it is a book that I still love to this day. And I know, Kiyosaki's, I don't know, he filed bankruptcy, whatever. But the whole thing is like, it's the mindset shift. And I started looking back at not just my own life, but other friends that I have that are millionaires or multi-millionaires, like in their 30s and in their 40s. And just looking back at my own life, it's like, okay, like, yeah, I could invest and do, $200 a month into a mutual fund or an ETF inside a Roth IRA. And yes, like you will become a millionaire one day and even a multi-millionaire one day. I had several clients that reached that status. But the fact that I am, was a multi-millionaire in my 30s wasn't because of compounding interest and, investing into a mutual fund or buying stocks. It's because I did something different, something unique, something that most people think is kind of weird. And that's what I went about hacking my wealth, because I was doing what most people don't want to do or too scared to do. So this whole brand was just like, man, I want to show people a different way that they can grow their wealth, hack their wealth, and become wealthy, not later, but now. I love Dave Ramsey's mission. And a lot of people they can't handle that. They can't put themselves out there and they can't risk
100%
things, and they like to be comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's, the crazy ones out there like you and I that we love that. Like we like to try new things. Like anytime we don't fail, like we just keep learning. And like, once you fall off the bike, you get up and keep going. But it's those people that if you truly want to, become wealthy, like in your 30s and 40s or 20s, and not in your 60s, like these are the things that you got to do. So a lot of it's just been sharing my story. And just here recently, I've been sharing stories of other people, that have been able to achieve, what most people would say is wealthy, but it's so at a lot faster rate, the whole like 10X concept. So yeah, so that's what this is all about. And a lot of it lives on YouTube at the moment. We got the site that I don't really publish. Funny enough, I've been a blogger for 10 years and I think I've only published a few blog posts on the site itself. But I just think with video, I just love YouTube. I just love to be able to just resonate with people. There will be a podcast coming out soon once I get my butt in gear, but
Exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to like achieve wealth, and it just depends on like what your timeline is and what actions you're willing to take and how much time, energy, and attention you want to devote into this thing. Because like you said, yeah, you can invest into mutual funds for 40 years, and as long as you do that consistently, you can get there someday. But like, what if you want to do it sooner? Like, there's different actions that you have to take to get on that track today versus 40 years from now.
Yeah. And for those that are in the online space or, have a business or entrepreneur space, the common question you get asked, when you're trying to create a product or create something like, oh, who's your avatar? Like who you targeting? And my response is, I am talking to the 20-year-old Jeff Rose that has just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, knows that there's something different out there, but has no idea how to even go about it. And like, that's who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the 20-year-old version of me that wants to get going, but don't waste your time with MLM. Sorry for those who are MLM. Basically, how can I show you to do what I did, but save you a decade or longer and get there even faster? Like that's who I'm targeting. So kind of like, I don't know if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but
oh yeah,
kind of like which, but it sounds just like what brief conversation you and I have. I feel like you've taken a lot of this, you've connected with other people that get it.
Yep.
And not that this is an excuse or anything, but back in my day, like we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have social media. And I lived in a small town, with 6,000 people that nobody got it. So I made the best of what I had. And now it's like, man, I could reach so many more people. You can reach more people. So you have that network of people that are big thinkers, I can't think of the Steve Jobs old Apple commercial, but the big thinkers, the rebels and all that. I mean, the ones that want to be different, dare to be different. You're going to have a lot of fun doing it.
So you mentioned earlier the term strategic networking, and I want you to dive a little bit deeper on that and how our listeners, you were talking to the younger listener just now, like how can they go out there and start building relationships with people who are in the places that they want to get to in order to learn from them, hear their experiences, and really get a clearer picture on what they should be doing to get to the places that they want to get to.
Yeah, let me before I tell you like what to do, let me tell you what not to do.
Good call.
And I just laugh. I get I'm saying get annoyed, but yeah, sometimes I get annoyed. I actually just got an email through my contact form today. And this person emails me and says, I want to know how to generate passive income the fastest way possible. Can you email or call me at your convenience? And I get so many requests like that. And it's just like, before you can build relationships, like you have to know how to serve others. Like you have to know how to put other people's needs before yours. So when you are coldly reaching out to somebody that you have no relationship with, I mean, just imagine going 3 doors down from wherever you live, knocking on the door and asking that person, hey, can I borrow $10,000? Like they don't know anything about you. Like they don't know you at all. Like what have you done for them? Like you've got to build that trust. You got to build that rapport. And I think one of the easiest, especially if it's like an online mentor, maybe it's like an author, maybe it's a YouTuber, a podcaster. I mean, one of the best and easiest things that you can do, instead of emailing them and asking them for something, first you can just email them and just say, hey, thank you. Thank you for the videos that you put out. Thank you for the podcast. Thank you for this specific episode. Like I really resonated with this. I just want to say I really appreciate all the effort that you do. Like that's one thing that you can do. You can interact with them on social media, retweeting them or resharing them on Instagram, whatever that is. And so like you become known like, oh, there's that guy, there's our guy. Other thing that you can do is if they have any sort of product, anything, merchandise, a course, a book, something, buy it. Buy it. Like you want to be mentored by them, so buy their stuff, buy their book, like buy their course, invest into that. And then after you buy it, tell them how good it was, or maybe if it wasn't good, let them know, be honest, and if you have a blog or if you have a blog, you can do a review about it. If you want to do a YouTube video, or you can write it, just like little things like that. Like that's what builds relationship. That's what builds rapport with people that you want to connect with or mentor with. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really key, like getting those repeat touch points so that when they see your name, they know, oh, that's the guy who's been emailing me, or, oh, that's the guy who did a review video on my course, and being able to get those repeat. Because I mean, my DMs are filled every day with people being like, hey, can you mentor me? Hey, teach me how to do this. Hey, can you do this for me? And it's just, I don't know. I just tune them out at some point because it's all the same. And like half the time these people, I'll give them like 15 minutes of my time and they won't do anything with it. And I'm like, well, what did I just do that for? Like, I just gave you all this information. I gave you the tools, but you didn't take any action. So it's tough. And like you said, like getting that financial investment, a lot of times that's what's going to get people to actually take action. Yeah. Because a lot of these guys, they're offering mentorship. They've created a course. They're teaching you what they know. And if you're not willing to invest in that, then chances are, even if they told you exactly what to do, you're not going to do anything with it because you don't have any skin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Amen.
So how would you advise a young person to get started in the content game? Because you're somebody who's created a lot of content over a decade, between blogging, YouTubing, and a bunch of different platforms. How would you advise somebody who wants to get starting an online business? They want to start making some content, but they don't really know what to do, where to do, or what to talk about. What would you tell this person?
Yeah, I think first, just try to figure out like what are some niches or what are some areas that you're excited about, that you like about, that you don't mind talking about. When you talk about it, like, man, this is something you could talk about all day long and you're not going to get bored of it. And it's okay if that topic changes. Like right now, maybe you're like in a fitness mode. You want to talk about the keto diet or whatever else is out there. I don't know. Like maybe you're really big into CrossFit or you're into boxing or whatever that is. Like, yeah, maybe that's where you start. And then from there, it's like, you can decide if you want to pivot or not. Like I started with finance. I remember at one point in time, I started it was like a financial dad blog. I'm not really sure where I was going with that. I didn't go anywhere with that. Like after a few months of doing this, I'm like, this sucks. I don't like this at all. I started a baby boomer blog because I thought, man, this is a good market, like be more specific on that niche and with the financial planning practice, but became abundantly clear, like I don't want to talk about old people issues. So, like I scrapped that one after a while. So I think that it's just trying to figure out what that is. And then it's the type of content that you want to create. For blogging, as I mentioned before, like I wrote everything and I suck at writing, not so much like, I guess I would say I'm a decent writer, but for me to be a decent writer, like I have to use like so much of what's up here and there's not a lot to give. So to use all this brain juice that I have very limited supply on was just not a good use of my productivity. So there's been different variations of this, but the easier thing for me was just to talk it out. Like you could use your phone, use a voice recorder and just talk out, maybe sharing a story, sharing an experience, and then have like an editor like Rev.com, or you use Fiverr, I'm sure, to edit it, or you could find a college kid who's an English major may want to edit like on their spare time, free time, makes a little extra money. But it was, I did the math pretty quickly, and I kid you not, like it would take me about 4 hours to write like 1,000 word blog post.
Wow.
And I'm not exaggerating. Whereas I could take 10 to 15 minutes, talk it out, forward that transcription to an editor, and they would finish it. And I'd be done in the 15 minutes that it took me to talk. And I can talk all day long. Like that doesn't take any brain juice. And I could typically do that when I was driving or on the elliptical or whatever, out for a walk. So like things like that, where once you finally understand like what your, as what I mentioned, I was a coaching program. So there's a coaching program called Strategic Coach, and the founder, his name is Dan Sullivan. Had to mention that because he really talks about what is your unique ability and discovering what that is. And all that is it's basically your God-given talent that allows you to excel at the things that you do that you just love to do. And the whole idea behind that is, how do you stay in your realm of your unique ability every single day? So it's just being very mindful. Like if there's something that you need to do, something that you have to do, but you haven't done it, and you keep procrastinating on it, then that's something that chances are like that is not part of your unique ability. So anytime I'm procrastinating on something, I'm like, oh crap, okay, how do I get that done by outsourcing that or delegating to somebody else? And that's just usually my little red flag where I can quickly see, okay, I need to figure out a way where I don't have to do that anymore. So once you've kind of figured that out, and you might not know that today, and if you don't know, you could just ask some friends, some family members, like, hey, like when you think about and people that you trust,
Mhm.
maybe if you don't really trust them or you don't want to hear the honest truth, but like what are some things that about me, some skills, some characteristics that you think are good qualities, that I have. That was actually an exercise we had to do at the beginning of this coaching program, was send a letter out to some people that we trusted just to get some feedback on some things. So if you
Hmm.
got some trusted friends and you can just kind of start there, or if you kind of know, like, oh yeah, I like doing that. I like doing that. And it could be if you like playing video games. Okay, so maybe you start streaming you're playing, and watch other streamers, see how they do. That could be a thing. Whatever, you'll just gotta start somewhere, right?
Okay. So now that a listener, say they have their unique ability, they've honed in on something that they're good at, that they're really passionate about. How do you personally go about setting goals to help yourself further along that path and help yourself move closer to the place that you want to be? Now that you know what you're good at.
Yeah, the one thing I used to always struggle with goals was I did it the New Year's resolution kind of way,
Mm.
end of year reflection, New Year goals. And the funny thing was I did actually publish those as blog posts back in the day.
Hmm.
So it was kind of fun to see, wow, that was my goal. Like where'd that come from? And it wasn't really until this coaching program that I joined. So, they're all about goals, but the one thing they made you do at the beginning was not just focus on your 1 year goals, but they wanted you to focus on your 1 year goals, your 3 year goals, your lifetime goals, then also your 90-day goals. But typically they had you start at what was I can't remember if we started lifetime. I think it was our 3 year goals first.
Mhm.
And that was such a different exercise for me
Hmm.
because most of us, we don't think. Even thinking a year out is a lot for many people, right?
Yeah.
So having to think about 3 years out, that took some time to really go out that way. So I just, man, like, where do I want to be in 3 years? And that's just something that I do. I'll revisit every 6 months or so, and just to see, like, what are my 3 year goals? So then we just kind of work backwards, right? So if I know I want to do this in 3 years, then what are my 1 year goals? And how do those coordinate with the 3 year goals, and then my 90-day goals, and then my 1 month goals, and my weekly goals. And that is something that whenever I was in the program, I did that every 90 days. So every 90 days I was
Wow.
looking at it. So I will admit that I've got a little less frequent looking at that, but it is still something like, I'm trying to think. I have a mastermind group, a men's mastermind group that started this year, and that was something that we all did together,
Hmm.
just looking at the 3 year goals. And it's funny because I remember at the time, like, one of my 3 year goals was selling financial planning practice and no longer being an advisor. And it's
Wow.
like, it's kind of cool, like, to see that, because I remember when I first wrote that down, I thought, man, how is this ever going to happen? Like, I just couldn't envision what that looked like. I knew that's what I wanted, but I didn't know how to get there. But just one step here, one thing here, one thing here, and it finally just led. It's like, wow, that was a goal that finally happened. So,
Mm.
but the other thing is just that. But the big reason behind that is you're reviewing them on a consistent basis.
Mm.
They're in your face. They look at it, and I use like different planners. Like, this is the one I always kind of default back to, this one, the productivity planner. These are the same people that make the 5 minute journal.
Oh.
And I've tried a few others. I've tried Grant Cardone's. I've got what's his name? Brandon Machard. He's got his
Oh
new
yeah.
planner out. There's different things I like and don't like about each of them, but this is the one I always go back to. And the only reason I really like it is because it's one of the few ones that just allows you to list out what are your weekly goals, like what's your goals this week.
Hmm.
And, like, I don't know why none of them do that, but, like, this is the one that has that one page dedicated for that. So I just love doing that. So I can always look, like, on Thursday, I can look back on, man, what was my main mission this week? Did I get that done? So yeah,
Awesome. Well, Jeff, I have some questions that I'd like to ask all of my guests before we wrap up the show. You've been dropping a lot of value so far. Are you feeling ready for those?
drop away.
Let's do it. All right. The first thing I'm curious about is, what are you excited about right now? This could be something in your business, in the wider realm of entrepreneurship, financial planning, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I think I was and still really excited about YouTube and just seeing the channel grow, and just seeing where that can continue to grow. I finally have some courses that I'm creating on the back end just to kind of be one of those internet marketing guys to have the course. But I mean, that being said, like I'm excited on going back to why I started the blog and really encouraging people. And like the content now that I'm creating is once again trying to show the 20-year-old version of me how to become me at a much younger age. So those are things I'm really excited about.
I love it. What habits do you have that have served you particularly well? These could be business habits or just lifestyle habits, but anything that you do on a regular basis to help you level up.
Yeah, I think after reading Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning, and just really implementing morning habits into my life, because prior to that, I would roll out of bed at 7 o'clock every morning. The only reason I would wake up because I could hear my wife in the shower. And now today was like an unusual morning, but like I was up at 4:30 this morning, read 2 different books, did my 5-minute journal. So like just get those things out of the way. I didn't do the morning workout because I went to read because I'm going to do boxing at noon. But typically, you know, it's praying, it's meditating, reading the affirmations, reviewing the goals, just all these things, and just doing that every single day. Is just, I mean, okay. Do I do it every single day? No. We like over the weekend we had late baseball Saturday, had an early game on Sunday. So no, I didn't do it that morning. So I don't want to be one of those guys that say, "Oh, I do it every single day." There are some exceptions, but I will tell you, like when I don't do them, I can tell. Like I can tell that something's off. So it's quickly easy to go back to that, like I need that routine back. And it just those simple things, you know, just identifying things I'm grateful for, reviewing my big goals for the day and the week and the months and the quarters, and just getting back to that mindset.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you're producing a lot of content. Are you consuming any content right now? Any podcasts, blogs? You said you read 2 books this morning. What are you reading?
Yeah. So I do Audible in the car,
Okay.
and I started doing more fiction books like in the car. So right now I just finished Ready Player One, which I loved the movie. I heard the book was so much better than the movie. It is like the book is amazing. So I finished that one pretty quick. So what was recommended next was The Ender's Game.
Oh, I love that series so much.
Yeah, it took a little while to get into it just because like I just came off Ready Player One, I think, but like now I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm hooked. And I'm looking on my Kindle now as I can't think of the name. I'm in another men's mentorship group, and the book that we're reading in that is John Maxwell's Today Matters. So that was the book that I was reading this morning, and then on my drive I was listening to Ender's Game.
Nice. I dig it. Yeah, you gotta wind in fiction there every once in a while and get the brain stimulated, get some cool ideas rolling around.
Yeah.
What do you do? I'm always curious about what my guests do that isn't inherently scalable or that like has that personal like Jeff Rose touch. So just a quick example of something I do is every day I'll pull out my phone and I'll send like 5 to 10 video DMs on Instagram to just new followers being like, hey, thanks for the follow. My name's Apple. If there's anything that I can do for you, let me know. Have a wonderful day. Just something really simple like that, introducing myself. But I say their name in it. It's not something that I want to mass produce. Is there anything that comes to mind for you in your business that you do that isn't like super scalable and doesn't have that replicability and has that personal Jeff Rose touch?
Yeah, very, very similar to what you do. So anytime somebody bought a course of mine, I would always send them a video message. And I use an app called, it is an app, but also software. It's called BombBomb.
Okay.
And the only reason I use it because it automatically syncs into Gmail. So I could just click a button, record a video, and it's included in the email. But anytime anybody bought something of mine, a course, it was always, hey, what's up, Mark? See that you bought my course. Really appreciate that. And, you know, just saying that very similar to what you do. I mean, it's not scalable, but in this day and age, personal touch is something that people just don't do anymore.
Yeah.
So when I don't know how many responses you get back, but every time I do it, it's like, I always get oh my gosh, I thought it was a pre-recorded video. And then like I heard my name and I realized, wow, you actually took the time to send me a video message. Those personal touches are huge.
Yep. It's all about doing the things that nobody else is willing to do because that's how you get the results that nobody else gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jeff, you've been dropping so much value on our listeners. Where can they go if they want to follow up with you, follow up with Wealth Hacker Labs? Let us know where they should check you out at and follow up with you at.
Yeah, YouTube for sure. Wealth Hacker on there, or you could search Jeff Rose. Active on Twitter, becoming more active on Instagram, just because I think you told me and my wife told me So Twitter and Instagram handles are J Jeff Rose. There's 2 J's. I don't have a stuttering problem. But yeah, J Jeff Rose on Twitter and Instagram, and Wealth Hacker on YouTube.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to link up all of those in the show notes below. Jeff, thank you so much for your time and spending it here on Young Smart Money. Do you have any last parting thoughts or words of wisdom for our listeners today?
Yeah, no excuses about anything. I mean, if you want to make change, like, you got to do something, you got to take action and just figure out what is the next step that you need to take. We're not talking 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What's the one step that you can do today, and just make sure you take action on it.
100% words of wisdom. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Young Smart Money. Again, if you guys did enjoy the show, do remember to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It really does help us get in front of more people with the show. It helps you hear from even more amazing guests. It just makes the world go round when you do smash that 5-star in iTunes. And if you guys want me to shout you out in my Instagram story, I am always up for that. So if you send a screenshot of your review to Apple Creator Official on Instagram, shoot me a DM of that, or just tag me in it. Would love to repost it on my short story and give y'all a shout out there. Otherwise, I hope you guys do have a wonderful day, whether you're out walking the dog, whether you are at the gym, whatever you are up to on this fine day. I hope it is a splendid one, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful day. Real quick, just launched a new project called the Online Course Examiner, basically the Yelp of online courses. It is blowing up lately. onlinecourseexaminer.com. Check it out.